The month of October is over. That's the first month of the NHL season. We turn the page to November. There are some surprises, I think, around the league. We might see one of them in Raleigh on Sunday when the Capitals, who are also 7-2, come to visit the Hurricanes. John Forslund, the voice of hockey, the voice of the Seattle Kraken, Monday Prime in Canada, TNT everywhere. He joins us on the Adam Gold Show. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Adam. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
Doing very well. It was there were some eye-opening things I watched last night. We'll get to that in a little bit. One of them is not surprising. The other one was very surprising to me. If I asked you who was the biggest surprise in the NHL as a team in the month of October, your answer would be?
Oh, boy. Positive story, negative story?
Positive story. The negative story I think I watched yesterday.
Well, the positive story for me will hit everybody in a warm place there because the most impressive team I've seen so far are the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oi.
And I'm surprised. I thought that, like many, that they'd take a step back maybe. Long road trip. And I saw a team come in, and we talked about their mindset at the start of the season, you and I,
yep.
That they had to be a little bit less arrogant about how good they are and more workmanlike. And it appears that's what they're getting to. I know the power play carried them again last night, which is good, but they're relentless with their skating game again. They totally dominated the Kraken last weekend. It wasn't even close. So for me, they're off to a really good start. Long way to go, obviously,
yeah.
But you win 7 out of 9 and you do most of that on the road. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny. I talked to Jordan Martinook before last night's game, and I asked him, like last year there was so much continuity. And this year, there's a lot of important new faces, and whether we think Jack Roslovic is going to score, 55 goals or not, I don't.
Well,
but he's off to obviously a very good start. At Roslovic and Robinson and Carrier and the two new defensemen, Gostisbehere, who has been here for a hot minute, but he's relatively new, and of course Sean Walker. I asked him, why do you think that it has looked the way it's looked? Because last year, it took them a good 6 weeks into the season to get into a rhythm playing this way, the way they're supposed to play. He actually said he thinks the new guys help because there's no shortcuts for them, and it maybe rubs off on everybody else.
Yeah, and there's no lingering effects from whatever happened the season before.
Right.
There's no hangover from a bitter disappointment in the playoffs. There's no second-guessing maybe how they're playing. These are guys that have come in, and again, they have to do it over the course of a long season, but they've come in re-energized because they were cast off from their previous places, and they're out to prove things. And in Roslovic's case, he has 6 goals, and he's on a 1-year ticket, and, he's writing his own story. To me, Gostisbehere's really been good.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching him play. I know people have criticized, I guess, some of his defensive aspects of his game, but he's a today's player in terms of puck possession. He's a big plus on the power play. That's pretty obvious. But I was impressed with their 5-on-5 game and their dedication to Rod's system and how hard they want to work. And when that team wants to work, because they're prepared by that coach to skate relentlessly, they're hard to play against. Sure, they get a ton of shots and they possess the puck and all these different things, but they might not be overly physical, but it's hard to play that way because you have to be in tip-top shape, but he gets them there. And it's a look at the game last night. I didn't see the game. I've heard about it. But I think the Bruins may be 2 or 3 steps behind the pace that the Hurricanes want to play at right now.
John Forslund is joining us. All right, to the Bruins, I was alarmed.
Yeah.
I've been watching this team now for, closely in terms of their matchups with the Hurricanes, and they've been great games. I've been watching them for now. This is the 7th year of the Rod Brind'amour era. I was alarmed at how one-sided it was. I've seen one team dominate the other in a game. I thought last night what I saw from Boston was unfixable. They looked slow. I realized that Marchand had surgery in the offseason. They've clearly had some player attrition. Charlie McAvoy was non-existent last night. I didn't even know he was on the ice. To me, he's not even close to their best defenseman. It looks like Hampus Lindholm is probably their best defenseman. But I couldn't believe how slow they looked. I didn't even think Jeremy Swayman played badly. I think he had no chance.
It looked that way, looking at the clips of the game and how the goals were scored and some of the bounces and that. I think with Swayman, it kind of begins with where it was at the start of the season, where they're having a press conference and they're talking about money being thrown around and this player not wanting to work with them, and then a week out or 10 days out before their opener, anointing a number one starter. And then they get the deal done, and then he comes back. And that's one position, boy, if you're going to put pressure on yourself as an athlete, and you're a goalie in the National Hockey League, contractually, if that's where the pressure is coming from, and you come back into that room, you got to be really elite to get your footing right away. And, without a camp and all these different things, and he's still a young goalie, that's a lot to put into a compartment for me. So he'll find his game because he's that good. I'm sure it wasn't on him last night. Their best players appear to be either disinterested or way too slow. That's a concern, and there's a lot of finger pointing now at the head coach, who's been looked at as a very good coach over the years. Now not so much, I guess. The Kraken are going in there on Sunday. They play Philadelphia tomorrow. It'll be very interesting. Again, if you can't match the pace of your opponent in today's NHL, you're in trouble. And sometimes, it has nothing to do with their age or their fitness or anything. It's just where their minds are at because they can't think quick enough. And just watching them, and I haven't seen them live yet, so it's a bit unfair. It just looks like that's the way they are. There's some lethargy there that might be mental, but that might be a disconnect between whatever's going on with the coach and the top end of the lineup, because this reverts to your best players, as the cliche goes. Right. And when you're blasting your captain a couple of weeks ago, everybody can see it and everybody says it's okay. I don't know if it's okay. Maybe it is, maybe not. It certainly looks like it's not, because they haven't responded since.
Yeah, Marchand said he was fine with it, but he did. He could just be leader. Right.
He's going to say
exactly.
That.
He could be just doing, this is what I need to say as the leader of the team. So talk to me about the Washington Capitals, because this is a team I think surprised everybody last year, just getting into the playoffs. I saw them a couple of times last year. I was like, okay, it's not great, but it's not horrible. Spencer Carberry is a good young coach. That looks like Ovechkin is kind of rejuvenated. He's got 5 goals in the early going, but I think they've got more depth and speed than I recalled them having. They're off to a great start too at 7-2.
They are, and Chychrun didn't play last night, Jeff Chychrun, and he might be okay for the weekend. It seems like it's a day-to-day situation. They haven't played without Matt Roy, who they signed from Los Angeles to help out their D. They replenished their defense, which is really important. And I think Spencer Carberry is an excellent coach. I think he proved that last year. He's doing it again. He did so in the minor leagues. He was an excellent assistant at this level. Smart, in vogue with the way the game needs to be played today. And he's jump-started a team that played slow to get them to play a little bit quicker. The goaltending is a 1-2 punch with Lindgren and Logan Thompson. Right. It's good. It can be way above average at times, but it's capable goaltending. As I did my forecasting before the season in August, you go through team by team. This Washington team kept sneaking up on me. And I had them rated pretty high, and I was like, it can't be, it can't be. But I thought they would push, teams in the Metro. I thought Philly would respond and be better, and they haven't. So, Washington's one of those teams that are coming in with a lot of confidence. They seem to have more balance. Some of their younger players are better. And they've had an excellent system, as an organization over the years, with some winning in the American Hockey League. So I think the pieces are coming together for this team. This will be a statement game for them to play the Hurricanes, because they're gonna look at the Hurricanes and say, we got to meet that, can we? And as far as the Hurricanes are concerned, it's a statement for them to say, okay, let's keep these guys down where we think they belong. So it'll be an interesting game.
No, I'm looking forward to Sunday afternoon. I haven't yet seen them live, but the Florida Panthers look to me to be exactly who we saw in June. Mm-hmm. Just an incredibly difficult team to play against with their physicality and their speed. And maybe it wasn't a fluke that Sam Reinhart scored all the goals last year. He's doing the same thing.
You know what? They say about Sam that puck follows him, and when they say that about a player, they used to say that about the great one back in the day. Right. It's because they're that smart, and they know where to go to anticipate where the puck might be, and then it gets there, and then they have the talent to score. He's an excellent player. He's not just a goal scorer. He plays in all three zones. He kills penalties. He's worth the money they re-signed him for. They get an injury to Sasha Barkov, and they survive it, and they survive it in a pretty good way.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. You take out your number one center, your leader, a guy that plays heavy in all facets of the game, and he's a championship caliber player now. How do you get through that? Some teams don't. This team did. They kept their heads above water, way above water, really. And I think it's just they know how they're going to play. They lost Matthew Tkachuk for a period of time with an illness for about 10 days, and they survived that too. They just know their identity, and that's the trick in the NHL. If you have team identity, you're good. And if you don't, you think you do, or you're masking it, and it appears for a segment, and then it goes away for a segment, you're really not real. Florida's proving to be real. They really are, and that's from the goal out.
How much of it is also you've known Paul Maurice a long time. He's always been a good coach. Especially here, fan base never liked him, but that's fine. You could always not like a coach who doesn't score, doesn't produce enough goals on the ice for you, even though Maurice took them to the Stanley Cup Finals one year and to the Eastern Conference Finals another year, just a few years after they won the Stanley Cup. But he has grown into kind of like his fit as a coach. He's finally been able to, I don't know if relax is the right word. Maybe he's not relaxed. What is the role that Maurice plays in all of this?
I think he's comfortable in his own skin. And, this has taken a while. I'm with you on this, because we've all looked at him for a long time, going way back when, and questioned some things and wondered about it and heard what the fans have said, especially, in that market. But I can tell you this. I'm with it. I'm with it all because I'm one of those too. But I can tell you this. Every player that I've talked to from whatever generation it has been has nothing but great things to say about him. So that to me is the proof. And that goes all the way back to Hartford when he may have been too young to get the job in the first place.
Right.
It goes to Raleigh round one where, the team is moving in flux and he had to manage a lot of outside distractions and coach a team. They still made the playoffs in one of those years.
Yeah.
And then 2.0 when he came back and took over for Laviolette. And, he and Ron Francis got the ship pointed back in the right direction. A lot of that had to do with Cam Ward, but it was still a good run for him. And then, there was Toronto where, he kind of put him, the team wasn't very good. The market's tough, and then he moves around and he's finally in a place where he can be himself and use his wisdom and have a team react. And it took him a full season to get the Panthers. Right. We forget how, when he first took over, how they had to squeak into the playoffs. They weren't very good that year. But then they matched it last season, and of course they win the Stanley Cup. So I think maybe he's vindicating his own career. Maybe that's a way to look at it. Maybe he's realizing, what? I can actually do this.
Yeah.
And I think he has a tremendous amount of confidence, but I also think he's been put in a lot of different situations. Winnipeg was a great spot for him. He really proved he could coach there. And, just his voice, it just ran out of time like it does for most of the coaches.
John Forslund, you're the best. I appreciate your time. You're in Ottawa tomorrow. Then you head to Boston?
Yeah, we're in Ottawa. We were in Toronto last night, and when you come to Ottawa and you have an off day, it lasts about a week. So
that's just a trip
anyway,
to the arena.
Tomorrow night at 7, and then Boston on Sunday. Then I'm going to Edmonton for Prime on Monday.
Oh man, you're busy. You're the best.
Good.
I appreciate your time. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Adam. Thank you.
John Forslund here, voice of the Seattle Kraken, voice of hockey. Monday night hockey in Canada on Prime. It's awesome.